So I know I'm late to this, but recently Bandai Namco and From Software invited a lot of creators out to get 3 hours of hands-on time with Shadow of the Erdtree. Somehow I wasn't invited.
I have no memory of inking thee an invitation.
I've wanted to stay spoiler-free when it comes to lore and story content, but when it comes to the mechanics, From Software hasn't been very forthcoming about what's actually in the DLC. They've told us how we'll get there, that's fine, and that there is some kind of separate leveling mechanic, but outside of that they haven't explained anything. And I'm getting kind of tired of this. It reminds me of Armored Core 6, where they invited some people to look at some gameplay and Vadi had to recreate the HUD from memory. It's like, is that really that spoilery, just letting us see the HUD? And of course in the gameplay that they provided that creators were only allowed to share, they weren't allowed to share their own gameplay. The HUD was missing from all of that footage. So in order to satisfy my curiosity, I was looking for more mechanic-focused reviews of the DLC, and I found one really good one from some channel called Yui. He broke down in really good detail all the weapons, spells, Ashes of War that he found in the DLC. He does spoil some things in name only, but if you're not sensitive to that, then I would check it out. But this is where it kind of started to worry me. And listen, I'm not dooming and glooming, I'm still very excited about the game. I'm not here to rain on anybody's parade, so before you fire off a hate comment, just wait and listen. And remember, this is just my opinion based on what I've seen in this pre-release footage and some of this gameplay. And a lot of this can be changed closer to release or post-release. And I'm not going to be recapping all of Yui's video. It's really detailed and I just recommend going to watch it. But what's got me really worried is a problem that stems from the base game of Elden Ring. You see, there's a lot of weapons in Elden Ring that just do too much damage. They have these really good Ashes of War, which is fine, but they're so low effort. Their Ashes of War don't take that much FP. There's ways to just work around the FP usage with like the Carrion Filigree Crest or Ancestral Horn getting FP back, that they basically trivialize the game. You can walk into an area with Moog's Spear, hit L2 and kill everything in there. And with the DLC adding 100 new weapons, I'm just concerned that a lot of these weapons are just going to kind of be the same, you know, way too much damage. They're going to be too good. We have whole weapon classes like flails that are pointless. I would never use a flail ever. It would have to be like a challenge run scenario for me to use a flail. And instead of reworking some of these weapons and weapon classes to make up for their shortcomings, they're just adding more. And that's a little worrisome. Not only that, but I've always kind of complained about how you level up weapons in Elden Ring. I don't like how you have to collect stones. It's not a problem when you have the bell bearings, but there's a finite amount of the final upgrade materials, so taking a weapon to the max, you have to be really cautious about what you're doing. And I've never liked that, to have so many weapons and theoretically be able to make so many different builds and you can't max out your weapons. It's really weird that they would do that. Like, I wouldn't mind if you had a maxed out weapon and you could de-level that one in order to level up another weapon. That would be a fair trade, but I mean, that's not really the point. I'm not here trying to come up with solutions for From Software's leveling, just stating that it's bad in the base game and it sounds like it's going to be even worse in the DLC with 100 new weapons. And instead of reworking some of these weapons and weapon classes to make up for their shortcomings, they're just adding more. And this is just for solo play. I'm not even going to think about PvP until we're actually in the game and can see how the scaling works. So another thing that's been worrying me are spirit summons. Now, I think spirit summons are... it's a double-edged sword. I still don't know how I completely feel about them. I rarely use spirit summons. In fact, I think in my last 2 to 3 playthroughs, I haven't used a single spirit summon. They're fun to mess around with, but for a first playthrough, I don't think I'm going to use them. But naturally, they're adding more, and it sounds like there's a separate level up material that you can use in the DLC. And I don't know, I guess my problem with the Spirit Ashes is that the bosses don't really seem to be able to handle multiple targets. It's like if their moveset would change depending on how many combatants are in the boss room at the time, I think I would feel differently about it, but they don't really know what to do. They don't know really who to target. It's clear that these bosses were not designed to handle multiple combatants, which again, it kind of makes me worried for the bosses in the DLC. I don't have a huge problem with the bosses in the base game. The only Remembrance bosses that I really don't like are Fire Giant and Elden Beast. Elden Beast for, clearly obvious reasons. Spams projectiles at you. The arena is way too big. It runs around. You can't use Torrent. Fire Giant, it's just like a camera issue for me. You can't really see what he's doing, and it's hard to tell exactly what's going on. And I could be reading into the emphasis on spirit summons a little too much. It could not be a big deal at all, but the fact that there's a new leveling thing for Spirit Ashes kind of gives me pause. But if there are some boss encounters that would be enhanced by using spirit summons, I hope that they communicate it clearly. But that's going to do it for this video. I was just kind of worried about the overall weapon balance and damage, the emphasis on spirit summons and their separate leveling. But am I just reading into this too much? Am I off base? You let me know what you're worried about, if anything, down in the comments. But until next time,